guys, and welcome back to my channel. It's me, Lipsy. If this is your first time, welcome. Hope you're having a good day. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. If you haven't yet subscribed, I would absolutely love it if you want to hit that subscribe button, hit my notification bell. It means the absolute world to me, like it really does, and I always appreciate all of you guys who subscribe, who comment, who like, who get involved. It really does mean the world to me. So with that said, let's crack on with today's case. So today is a really sad case. It's about April Jones. Now if you don't know anything about April Jones, she was a little 5-year-old and she lived in Machynlleth in Wales. April Jones disappeared on October the 1st, 2012. She was such a happy-go-lucky little girl. She was born prematurely at 34 weeks and she actually had cerebral palsy, but a lot of her family said that she never ever let this get to her. She tried to put it to the back of her mind. She was only 5, she was a baby. Her mum Coral and her dad Paul were they're just lovely people, and you know, these type of cases, like I said before, 3 out of 4 times the family's involved. I mean, the mother and father in this situation were just such beautiful people who had such a horrible thing happen to them. So the day that this happened, it was a school day and the family had woken up. April had gone into bed for cuddles with her mum, whilst Paul went downstairs and prepared breakfast for everybody. She dressed April, she put her in a uniform, she put a little plait in her hair, and she sent her off for a day at school. And little did she know this was going to be the last day that she ever spent with her little girl. After a day of shopping, Coral and Paul went to go and pick up April from school. They picked her up, they took her to her swimming lesson, and when they picked her up she was a little bit grumpy because she was tired. But once they said that it was a swimming lesson night, she really perked up and she was ready to go. So they dropped her off to her swimming pool lesson, and then they went back to parents' evening in her school. Everything was pretty normal. They went back, they picked her up from swimming, took her home. She complained of a bad tummy, but she ended up eating all of her tea, which was spaghetti on toast, one of her favourites. And then she settled down to watch the Disney film Tangled. Now, when the film came to an end, she decided that she really wanted to go out and play with her best friend. And it was quite late at this point. It was about 7 o'clock, so it was starting to go a little bit dark. It wasn't too bad, but it was too late and her parents said no. However, she persisted, and once she had something in her mind, she was the type of child who wouldn't give up on it. So she was insistent on the fact that she was going to go out to play with her friends, and in the end they let her go out, have a little play, but come back. We're going to get you to bed early tonight, you got school in the morning. So just 15 minutes after she went out to play, it's 7:15, and one of her friends, who's a little bit older, she's 7 years old, sees April get into a car. Now, she said that when she got in the car, she seemed quite happy and she had a happy face, I quote. At 7:20, a Land Rover is seen driving away from Machynlleth at speed. Now, this later on was found out to be the Land Rover of a man called Mark Bridger. At 7:29, Coral found out everything that had happened. The girl had gone to tell her, and she called the police, reporting that her child had been kidnapped. This day hadn't been particularly good for Mark Bridger. Now, his girlfriend had actually broken up with him via text, and he'd phoned into work saying that he wasn't going to be in today because he needed to get his head straight, I quote. Now, April wouldn't have actually got in the car with a stranger, her mum and dad both say. She did know Mark Bridger. Mark was a former partner of Elaine Griffiths, sister of Karen Griffiths, former partner of Paul, April's dad. So she must have recognised him and felt safe getting in the car with him. At 7:37, the first officer arrives at the scene and interviews the child witness who had seen April get into the car. At 8 p.m, all the people over Machynlleth are out searching for April. Most of them have seen her over social media and they've just joined the search in order to try and get her home safely to her parents. Now, the police have actually instigated the first UK Child Rescue Alert. So what this is a partnership between kind of the media and the police in order to get kids home as fast as they can possibly get home. It's really when there's a real risk to the life of a child. And what you have to understand as well is April had cerebral palsy. She had medication that she had to be taking. Even if someone had taken her with no intent to hurt her or just to drop her home and they went to Tesco's on the way back, for example, she still needed to be back for her tablets. This was really important. This is the biggest search that's ever been undertaken in the UK. At 8:30 p.m, Bridger's Land Rover is seen going back to his cottage in Caithness. Now this is only about 3 miles from Machynlleth. May or may not be the first time that Bridger returns home, and he has no idea at this point that he's been spotted by the child witness. Now just before 9 a.m. the next morning, Bridger is spotted carrying a black bag along the side of a river. A witness thought that there was something in it, and she believed that there really was something in the bag. He later goes and he takes his Land Rover to a garage to get repaired. At 9 o'clock, thanks to the child witness, police are able to make the link with Bridger. He is made a person of interest and detectives begin to work on his background. At 12 noon, Bridger is an official suspect and police are trying to find him, his car and his home. He actually only moved into that cottage 5 weeks before the situation happened. At 3:03 p.m, police smash their way into Mount Pleasant. That's the name of the cottage that he was living in at the time. And the cottage is unpleasantly hot. It smells of detergent. It's clear that it's had a major clean through. And there's traces of burnt bone, and they think that these are from a child's skull. There's no visible blood. However, like I mentioned before, it's obvious that he had done a major cleanup. At 3:32, Bridger is arrested close to a river on suspicion of abduction. He tells the arresting officer information, a story if you will, that he maintains for the next 13 interviews. That he accidentally crushed April in a car accident, but he forgot what he did with the body. That evening, police go to inform April's family that she is most probably dead. Over the next 7 months, Bridger claims not guilty, despite DNA fast track proving that her blood was all over his house. He denies abduction and murder, along with disposing of April's body. But nearly 8 months later, on the 30th of May, he is found guilty of abducting, murdering and then disposing of April Jones's body. He is sentenced to life prison and recommended that he never gets released. After his arrest, police found extensive collections of child abuse, including sexual child abuse, on his computer. The search had a history of infant models as well as naked 5-year-old girls. He claims not to have typed in naked 5-year-olds, however he says that he does remember typing in infant models. He said it was for research. He was also found to have a picture of a girl who was around 8 to 10 years old, naked, and he is said to have kept that for when his daughter asked him about the human body. An investigating officer actually said, "You've researched various murders of young girls, and yet you're sat here talking to me about April Jones. Is that not a coincidence?" He says that he saved the photos to send them as complaints to the websites that had put them up. He claims to have not sexually assaulted April, however Superintendent Andy John said that he believes that April was sexually assaulted by Bridger. His hypothesis is that he took April to the cottage and killed her there, or he took her and assaulted her in the nearby countryside and then took her back to murder her in his house. After the verdict, it is actually confirmed that Bridger disposed of April's body in the river that went past his house and into the town of Machynlleth. The police also believe that he scattered April's remains around the countryside by his home. Branded a pathological liar and paedophile by Mr. Justice John Griffith William, he became the 32nd person in the UK to be jailed for life with a whole life tariff. Now the situation actually gets a little bit more sad, and this is a moment where I would like to talk about the family. Now, when I make these videos, I'm totally aware that they are UK videos, and despite a lot of people covering them, like big YouTubers, I still think it's important to give respect. And this family have been through so much. I can't imagine what it's like to go through this situation. But then, after this, Paul, father of April, he had encephalitis, so this is a potentially lethal brain condition. Paul didn't remember anything that happened to April, and then he ended up having to be told all over again that his little girl had died. I can't imagine what that was like for the family. And then Bridget decided to contact April's sister on Facebook. It's just horrible. It's just one thing after another for them. But luckily, and it doesn't make up for anything, they did get to watch the cottage that it seems like April was brutally murdered in get burned down. Guys, this is such a sad story. This is such a horrible... I've never done a closed case before, and I wasn't sure how it would pan out. But I think this story just deserves that recognition. I mean, this poor family, it's absolutely unreal. And that just monster, hopefully he'll rot in jail, is absolutely vile. Let me know what you think of this story. Had you heard of it before? Or is this the first time that you've heard of it? If you have any requests, please put it in the comments down below. I always go through my requests. This was actually a requested video itself. Leave it in the comments and I will definitely get to it. It might take me a little bit of time, but I can guarantee that I will eventually make the videos for you. I am working on other videos of my own, so it does take a little bit of overlapping for me to get it done. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. I would absolutely love to create a bigger community on this platform. Thank you for supporting me this whole time. And as always guys, never let anyone dull your sparkle.
About me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.